Yeah, I just woke up from this classic sort of really fun morning dream. I thought I'd tell everybody about it. Uh, it was one of these dreams where you meet famous people and stuff. It was like, let's see, it's 10:09 right now. Okay, uh, it was like I'd been watching some videos of interviews with Bob Dylan, so that's why Bob Dylan showed up in this dream. But anyways, it was like I was somewhere, and Bob Dylan was there. It was sort of generally before supposed to be before some concert or something. But I mean, there were a lot of different environments in this dream, and I was walking around outside. There were some friends of Bob Dylan. I mean, there were a lot of people around. I was walking around. There were some other famous people, but I can't remember who they were. Right at that point, remember who they were, but like I was goofing around with Bob Dylan like he was a sort of a friend of mine, like, or no, it started out. It was like he was walking somewhere in the distance, and like it was outdoors, and we were sort of playing and stuff, in a funny way. Like I was with some other people who were famous, and I saw them in the distance, and it was like some sort of game, and I was saying like, "Come on, Bob, you can do better than that," or something like that. Uh, I wish it was more specific, but I can't quite remember what we were doing. But I remember I said something like, "Come on, Bob Dylan, the chicken, chicken, Bob Dylan, chicken." And like it was just meant to like razz him, and like, and then like, and then I came over to like where he was, and he was like, he was like, "You son of a bitch," or something, and then like, and then, and then so I was kind of like, "Yeah, come on, let's fight." Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah, and he was behind some sort of fence, and I was just totally kidding, it wasn't. And then he was on the other side of some fence, and I ran up to the fence, like it was like a chain link fence, and I like hopped over it, and like landed, and then I said like, "Wow, in war," it was like I'm getting out of shape. In war, I'd have some, you know, problems or something, I was like, I don't know how good I'd be in a war right now, in war. But I felt also, but it was just like a joke because I hopped right over this fence, and I was like, it was just fun. It was just sort of, and it was like I felt the same way I felt, sort of. I feel with friends of mine when I'm sort of like play fighting or something. And so and then so I was just talking to him, I was sort of trying to not let the fact that he was so famous and there were all these famous people around get to me. And then damn, I better hurry up because there's a lot of interesting stuff in this dream. So and it was like sort of going back and forth between being like, wow, I'm with famous people, and I'm just with somebody. And and it seemed like the more I thought of thinking of telling other people, that I was hanging out with Bob Dylan, like the more it seemed like a big deal. But the more it was just me and him, it was fun. And then Bjork, there were other famous people, but I can't remember who. But Bjork walked in. Bjork, it's actually pronounced Bjork, and I was like, oh my God, no, somebody else walked in, some other girl or something, but I can't remember. Maybe it was Joan Baez or something, like his girlfriend, Bob Dylan's old girlfriend or something. But then Bjork walked in, and the first one, I was just whoever else famous walked in, I was just kind of like, cool, but I wasn't that like mind blown. And then Bjork walked in too, and I was like, oh my God, Bjork, everybody's here. And I was like, this is so neat. And then so I walked over to Bjork, and I said like, and by now we're all in this sort of little room area, and I said like, Bjork, I was like, how you doing, Bjork? I really like your stuff. And she was like, oh, thank you. All right, now this is, but she was, she was kind of reserved the way famous people are. And then I was saying, yeah, I'm talking to all these famous people, and it's wild, but I just kind of got to get beyond my beyond my shyness a little bit. But as soon as I get beyond my shyness, it's fine. And so I was talking to her, and then is where it gets weird. I'm gonna get this in the time limit here. You got 5 minutes here. It's not gonna take that long. Okay. So then I said, I was talking to her some more, and by now somehow we're in an area with like seats. It was like almost like an auditorium, and she said, and then I realized she had this big weird, like earlier she didn't, but she had this big weird, like setup with her voice and like her mouth. You couldn't see her mouth talking, but like some machine was talking for her, and it had something to do with some medical thing or something. And she was like, she would like do little imperceptible movements with her mouth, and it would trigger these like circuits to like talk and all this weird stuff. And like she had this big contraption like all around, set up all around her. It was like really creepy. I was like, what? God, what is all that? And then she was saying like, it's this machine was like talking for her, sort of with her voice, saying like, it's a contraption so I don't have to use my mouth or something. And I just make muscle movements and it does the work for me. It does the work for me, or whatever. You know, she was talking with her accent, obviously. And it talks for me because I have had some problems with my vocal cords, or with my lips, or my mouth, or something like that. And then so I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. And then so I was like watching that and talking to her a little bit, and then somehow I turned around and did some other stuff, and I came back and she was gone. But I still had this briefcase that had contained all this contraption, and so I was like, oh shit, I've got Bjork's briefcase. It's pronounced Bjork, actually. Most people say Bjork, but I was like, I got Bjork's briefcase. And I was like, oh no, I gotta find Bjork. And so I was like walking around. I like saying Bjork better, but so then I was walking around this like big area wherever we were. And then I went into a movie theater with lots of people. So it's just somehow connected with this. And I still had Bjork's briefcase. And some guy that had been there where Bjork was, I found him in the seats. This was a different auditorium than where I had been talking to Bjork. I found him in the seats, and I was like walking around. I was like, "Damn, I got Bjork's briefcase!" And I called up the seats, and I was like, "Hey, I got Bjork's briefcase. Do you know where she went?" And this guy was like, "No, we were just blah blah blah." They weren't really connected with Bjork. They were like college students or something. So anyway, I was like, "Oh damn, well I'll find her," you know. And then so I found a place in the seats. And in this movie theater, it was basically a movie theater in this whole big complex wherever the dream was taking place, a mall, huge entertainment something, you know, I don't know. But so I sat down, or a college, or it could have been anything. It was just this big place where everything was taking place. But this was a movie theater that was connected with it, and so I was like, I went in there and sat down, and I started looking at the screen, and this is the interesting thing. I felt this strange sense of happiness. I was terribly depressed yesterday, but I felt this strange, really cool sense of happiness. Now, why? But I just felt like, I'm like out of that evil depression, and I was just like looking at the screen, and I was like, I'm just out and interacting with everything, but there's this different thing. It's this thing that I recognize in dreams. It's this kind of excitement and happiness that really only occurs to me in dreams. So, I'm probably over the time now. Damn it, there's more. Okay, I'm gonna do part 2 in the next video. Damn, I wish these wouldn't take so long.